Hey folks, in today's video I'm going to be doing a quick review of an Apollo pick. This is a pick that I got just a couple days ago. Apollo picks are made by an individual named Nick Monin. I believe Monin is the last name. It's spelled M-O-N-N-I-N. I hadn't heard of Apollo picks. I think I was on the Mandolin Cafe and actually just saw an ad for them and went there because I was curious. So in starting this video, I want to say that this is not a video for me to tell you what pick I think is the best pick in the world or which one you need to go right out and buy. In my case, I have a fairly wide variety of picks, and I think all of them can be useful depending on the sound you're trying to get and what type of instrument you're playing. So for many years I used Wiegand picks. I'll show you one here. I used a pick like this for well, really probably more than 10 years. I used them when I was playing live, or well, I used them pretty much all the time, although when I was playing at home a lot, I used these, which are tortoiseshell picks. These are very expensive and they're kind of hard to find. You can't really find them, they're not readily available. Only a handful of people seem to have this stuff around. I used these tortoiseshell picks and Wiegand picks for many years, and then about 2013, I think it was, I met Matthew Goins and started using Bluechip picks, and I experimented with different shapes and bevels, and eventually settled on what they call the TP, the triangle pick. And I stopped using them with bevels that were specific to a right hand or left hand twist, and actually started using a rounded bevel because over the years my pick technique has changed a lot. So I said all that to tell you that I found a new pick, an Apollo pick, and I got it a few days ago, and I'm really enjoying it. This is the Apollo Pix Info. If you want to pause that, hold that, maybe you can see how to get a hold of this fella. It came in a interesting little brown, it was shipped in this kind of cool little brown envelope with this on it, and so I'll say right off, I really like it. I like the pick quite a bit. This is the pick. These are casein picks, and casein, as far as I know, I'm not sure if the gentleman who made these would tell you any differently, but as far as I know, that's a milk protein, and I don't know if that is, I'm not sure what the process is of turning that into this, but this is a triangular pick, very much like the Bluechip pick. They're extremely similar in size, almost identical in size, with the exception that the Bluechip has two sharper corners and one rounded corner. This one actually has three different tips on it, three different corners. One that's sharper, one that's not quite so sharp, and one that's more rounded. So I'm going to give you just a quick comparison of the three. This is the Apollo pick. Also, this Apollo pick is 1.3 millimeters in thickness. I said it's not a perfect comparison because not everything is absolutely identical here, the thicknesses and everything. The Bluechip is 1.25. One thing I will say about a difference in thickness like that, going from say a 1.25 to a 1.3, that small a difference in thickness is felt by the player more than it is heard by the listener. If you go from say a 1 millimeter to a 1.4, you're not only going to feel the difference, but there's going to be an audible difference, something that you can actually hear. Whereas going from a 1.25 to 1.3, you might feel that in your hand, you might notice it, but that's such a subtle difference that the listener won't hear that as much. What you'll hear more is the material and the picking surface, the tip of the pick is what you're going to hear more in terms of what changes the tone when you have such a small difference in thickness. It glides very easily over the strings. This is also a rounded bevel. It's not a right or left-hand bevel. I'd like to also explain to people what that means because I get asked that a lot, especially when most of you experienced pickers are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But a lot of you out there that are just getting into maybe stepping up into higher quality picks will wonder what in the world does that mean? How can a pick be right or left-handed? So I'm a right-handed player, meaning that I use my left hand to play the fingerboard and my right hand holds the pick. And typically a right-handed player, the vast majority of them when they're playing, there's an angle to the pick as they play, and that angle goes this way across the guitar. And for many years, I actually had to use a left-handed bevel. I started playing when I was really young, and I have kind of long, double-jointed thumbs, and I guess you call that double-jointed, or thumbs that hyperextend, whatever. I had gotten into the habit of twisting my pick this way. And it was later in life that I retrained myself by adding extreme right-hand bevels to a lot of my old Wiegand picks. And I retrained myself to break that habit because tremolo and faster picking I found was easier and I had more control if I went to using a right-hand bevel. Now that doesn't mean I don't slip back into this from time, especially when I'm wanting to round tone. I'll sometimes twist the pick this way. But that's why if you stay in one position a lot of people prefer a pick that has a bevel that is specific to one direction. I started using the rounded bevel, meaning that it just has a round, smooth edge over the last couple of years. So what we're listening to right here is the tip that has, I'll hold this out again so you can see it. That's the sharpest point of the pick. This is the next one in roundness. You won't hear a lot of difference. I'll feel it because it rolls across the strings a little more easily. warms the tone up a little bit. You get a little bit less note definition. So if I was playing a really fast tune and I wanted a sharper attack with better note separation, I would probably use the sharpest tip because you get the brightest tone out of that. If I was playing a really slow tune, something, with a lot of... I'll use the most rounded corner. So that's the Apollo pick. It sounds a lot like a tortoiseshell pick. It feels a lot like a tortoiseshell pick. I'm going to switch guitars. The guitar you're listening to is my Collings CJ. It has a maple back and sides and a maple neck. And I really like this Apollo pick. I've noticed it's a really good match for this guitar. This guitar has as much bass and has as much top end as just about any rosewood guitar I've ever played, and has as much top end as any mahogany. The responsiveness, the quickness with which this guitar responds is a lot like a mahogany guitar. The one really big difference about this Collings with the maple back and sides, and I think the maple neck probably has a lot to do with it, is it has as much mid-range as it does bass and treble. So unlike a rosewood guitar that has that curve, that dip in the mid-range where it's a lot of bass and a lot of top end with a scooped mid-range, this guitar is pretty much straight across the board in terms of EQ. And this pick really seems to help me bring out a good, warm, round sound that also retains note definition. So I'm really happy with it so far as how it works on this guitar. But also, just for the sake of showing you some differences, I have another guitar. This is also a Collings, my other CJ. I have two CJs. And this one is a rosewood guitar. The rosewood in this is called either Wingy or Wingay, Wenge. Collings, I've seen a few of these floating around made out of this wood. A couple dreads, a couple slope shoulder dreads like this. Both of these guitars have the exact same strings. They have nickel bronze D'Addarios on them. This one has a mahogany neck and rosewood back and sides. They both have Sitka tops, and they both have the 24/9 scale. I like Collings CJs in particular because over the years I was trying to find something that was a hybrid of tones versus the old J45s that I have owned and played over the years versus Martin sound. There were things about both those sounds that I really liked. And I just, over the years playing different guitars, noticed that the Collings CJs seemed to have sonic attributes of both guitars. They're not loyal replicas of old Gibsons like the Collings guitars that they offer now, the J35s, and I think there's actually a J45 now that they make, which have the tone bars that are not scalloped and things like that. They have like a tapered tone bar system, just like an old Gibson. These have the body dimensions of a Gibson and the shorter scale of a Gibson J45. But internally, they're braced more like a Martin, the standard CJs are, and I really like that. I also like these guitars specifically. The ones that I've gravitated towards actually have Sitka tops versus the red spruce tops, which is something that's very different. Because a lot of the other makers, as far as square-shouldered, full-scale dreadnoughts that I gravitated towards over the years, typically had red spruce tops, the ones that I liked the best. But in this case, both of these guitars have a Sitka, and that was a deliberate and conscious decision on my part based on what I was hearing when I played them. So it just goes to show you that when you go out guitar shopping, don't have it in your head that you already know exactly what you want. Play everything you see out there, because you may be very surprised by what you wind up taking home. One pause for some coffee here. All right, folks, for the sake of brevity, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope that there's something in this that you found useful and informative. Again, this is the Apollo pick that I just got, and I can't say enough good things about it so far. I've played it a lot over the last couple of days, and I really love the way it feels and the way it sounds. And again, I recommend you try every pick you can, because they all may have something that they can do for you as far as something to have in your guitar playing or music making arsenal. This is my Bluechip that I was using, and this is my real tortoise shell pick that I was using. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or would like me to do anything else to follow up as far as pick comparisons go, just leave a comment, and I'll check back from time to time and do my best to answer it. Thank you.